Michael!
Despite the fierce wind and rain, I could tell the boy standing at the crosswalk was my grandson, Michael, because he stood out, not bothering with an umbrella. Leaning over to the passenger side, I flung the door open and shouted,
Michael, get in the car right now!
Grandma, it's Grandma! Michael, recognizing my face, smiled happily and climbed into the passenger seat with heavy steps, then immediately leaned against me and became motionless. I shook Michael's shoulder and slapped his cheek repeatedly, calling out,
Michael, Michael!
But he just kept breathing heavily with his eyes closed, not responding. Touching his forehead, I felt an abnormal warmth and exclaimed,
He's burning up!
Feeling my touch, Michael faintly said, Grandma's hand feels nice. But then he lost consciousness.
Michael! Hang in there!
I pulled out a thermometer I always carry in my bag, placed it under Michael's arm, and when it read 103.8 degrees Fahrenheit, I realized the danger and immediately called 911. Then I heard the shrill siren of an emergency vehicle and an announcement directing me to clear the road for a line of cars.
Over here! Hurry, please!
Unable to stand still, I ran out into the pouring rain to signal the ambulance. My name is Kristen, and I'm 56 years old. After losing my husband 2 years ago, to ease my loneliness, I now work at a restaurant just a 10-minute drive from home. I've had a family-like relationship with the couple who runs the restaurant, often visiting with my husband and son Yahir on weekends. Since my husband passed away and Yahir became independent, those times have become distant memories, but now watching my grandson Michael eat is a moment filled with happiness and joy for me. Yahir's wife, Trinity, who gave birth to Michael, passed away from cancer 3 years ago, without her treatments being effective. Since then, I've occasionally taken care of Michael, hoping to spare him any loneliness, perhaps healing my own loneliness from losing my husband through him. A year ago, Yahir told me about a woman he was considering remarrying. I had always told him we must live looking forward, for Trinity's sake and for Michael's, so I was relieved to hear this. The woman is a junior colleague at his company named Allison. She's 8 years younger than Yahir, but he introduced her with a relaxed face, saying she does a lot for him, and often laughed, thinking of Allison. Are you making that sleazy smile at work, too? I wondered, but seeing a spark of life in Yahir's eyes for the first time in a while, I silently cheered him on. You can do it. Since she promised to quit her job and take care of Michael as a housewife after marrying, I felt reassured, telling her, I'm relieved it's you. Please take good care of Yahir and Michael. I'm counting on you for a long time to come. When I visited Michael at the apartment, Allison greeted me. Kristen, welcome. I'll make some tea right away. Should I bake a cake too? I'm really good at that. With that said, Allison welcomed me with strong eyes and a slightly over-exaggerated response. Surprised, I said, Please, don't bother. But Allison seemed unable to resist doing something, saying, Then, how about I give you a shoulder massage? You must be tired from the drive. I'm actually quite good at massages. My dad and mom always praise me. While she showed concern, the eagerness to showcase her charm gave me a bit of discomfort. The moment I entered the room, Allison's posture, ready to respond to every move with keen attention, seemed forced to me. Allison lamented the absence of sweets, remarking, Had I known Kristen was coming today, I would have bought the popular pudding recently. I'm truly sorry for being such an inconsiderate wife. Allison bowed deeply and apologized so sincerely that it made us feel embarrassed for causing her any inconvenience. It seems everything about her is calculated, but I hesitate to voice it, and after all, it's not my place to interfere in my son's marriage. Perhaps Allison is just struggling with finding the right distance with her new family, and in time, any barriers between us may disappear, I convinced myself. One day, a year after Yahir and Allison's marriage, Yahir shared some joyful news.
Allison's pregnant.
Hearing Yahir's excited voice, I felt tears well up and managed to say with a trembling voice, "Is that so? Congratulations." The restaurant manager commented on my good mood, asking if something nice had happened, as my face had been relaxed since before opening. A regular customer said,
"Seeing Kristen's smile makes me want to work hard in the afternoon, so..."
I replied with embarrassment, "Saying that won't get you any extras," making everyone in the store laugh. After work, I brought Allison a pregnancy gift of bath salts and a fruit basket, hoping it would give her some peace of mind. I'm excited to see Michael and his new sibling grow up together, as this will be my second grandchild. When I parked in the visitors' parking and casually glanced at the park across the street, I saw Michael sitting on a bench, looking down. "What are you doing here?" Michael looked up and smiled sadly when I called out to him. "It's not fun alone, right? Grandma is going to your house now. Want to come with? There's plenty of fruit. You can eat whatever you like." But Michael just shook his head, neither standing up from the bench nor saying anything, quickly dropping his gaze to the ground. As I tried to lead Michael back to the apartment, he resisted with surprising strength, insisting,
"I'm staying here,"
and refused to move. Michael's determination to stay put was strong, as if his feet were anchored to the ground, refusing to leave his spot. Sensing something was wrong, I hesitated to force Michael to come with me and left him with an orange, saying, "Wait here," and headed to the apartment alone. As I got off the elevator on Yahir and Allison's floor, I heard the sounds of a young man and woman laughing together and wondered if I was intruding. However, I realized the laughter was coming from in front of Yahir and Allison's room. Oh, it was Allison. I thought it was a young couple chatting nearby, I said upon seeing Allison and a delivery man in uniform. Then, the two who had been chatting happily fell silent, and the delivery man left without a word or greeting to Allison. That's a strange delivery person. Usually, they say thank you to the resident, right? I asked, puzzled by the delivery person's rudeness, but Allison glared at me with a look I had never seen before. Quickly recovering, Allison said, "Kristen, you were here?" in a flustered manner. Then, Michael returned from the park with a slow pace. "I'm home." Did the brother from earlier already leave? Allison glanced at me, smiled awkwardly, and said,
"Don't say strange things. That brother was just a delivery person. A friend living far away sent us a package."
Looking down at Michael. Michael suddenly stopped walking, refused to move any further, and with a frightened voice, apologized to Allison, saying, "I'm sorry." I handed Allison the bath salts and fruit basket, saying,
"I heard from Yahir. There's a baby in your belly, right? That's wonderful, congratulations. I'll help in any way I can so you can have a healthy baby, just let me know."
While looking around the room, but I couldn't find any package the delivery person was supposed to have brought. Michael, who used to greet me with a bright smile whenever I visited, was oddly silent today, playing games on his mobile phone in a corner of the room. "Michael, what are you doing over there?" "Grandma came to visit you," Allison said with a laugh, covering her mouth with her hand, though her eyes weren't smiling. In a scared voice, Michael apologized again. "I'm sorry." Then cautiously approached me while glancing at Allison's expression. With a frightened voice, Michael muttered, "I'm sorry." Once more, then glanced at Allison's expression before timidly approaching my side. Allison chatted away by herself until I left, but during that time, Michael stayed by my side without uttering a single word. The next weekend, Michael came to visit my house. That day, he talked animatedly and amusingly about things that happened at school, just like old times, but when a delivery truck parked in front of the house, Michael tensed up and clung to me.
What's wrong? Are you scared of that truck? That's odd. You used to love trucks when you were younger.
An elderly delivery person with gray hair came and asked for a signature to receive the package. Oh my, thank you for your hard work. While I was signing, Michael remained hidden behind me. The delivery person greeted Michael with a broad smile, saying,
Hello.
But Michael stiffened and apologized.
I'm sorry.
Both the delivery person and I looked at each other, wondering,
what's gotten into him? This man isn't mad at you, Michael. Right. Uncle isn't scary at all.
The delivery person said, then took out a candy from his pocket and offered it to Michael. Here, take this and cheer up. After the truck left, I asked Michael again.
What's wrong?
But he only averted his gaze and bit his lower lip in frustration. Then one day, a large hurricane approached our area. Although we avoided a direct hit, the impact brought intermittent rain from morning and a linear rain band that, in just a few hours, was expected to bring a month's worth of rain, according to the news. At the restaurant, where we usually have a line of customers waiting to get in during lunchtime, there was hardly any customer flow due to the rain. As the wind grew stronger and the few customers dwindled, the restaurant owner sighed and said, Looks like we won't have any more customers today. Kristen, you can go home. I packed leftover ingredients into a bag and ran to my car parked behind the restaurant, struggling to keep my umbrella from turning inside out in the strong wind, ending up soaked. I wiped my face and body with a towel I had in the dashboard, barely drying off, then turned up the radio to its maximum volume because the sound was drowned out by the noise of the rain hitting the car. The announcer carefully explained that the rain would continue for a while, but looking at the heavy rain and wind battering the windows, it was obvious. As I drove onto the main road, the effects of the hurricane caused a paralysis in railway services, leading to a long traffic jam. The view through the windshield was a blur of white, with the red traffic lights emitting a taunting glow at regular intervals. Wondering if there would be any brave pedestrians walking the crosswalk in such weather, I glanced at the sidewalk and spotted a boy about the age of an elementary school student.
Michael!
I knew it was Michael at first glance because, despite the heavy rain, he stood out without an umbrella. He was holding a shopping bag, but it seemed the handle had ripped at some point, and he was dragging it along the asphalt ground. Leaning over to the passenger side, I flung the door open and shouted,
Michael! Get in the car right now! Grandma, it's Grandma!
Michael, noticing me, smiled happily and climbed into the passenger seat with heavy steps, then immediately leaned against me and became motionless. I shook Michael's shoulder and lightly slapped his cheek, calling out,
Michael, Michael!
But Michael just kept breathing heavily with his eyes closed, not responding. Touching Michael's forehead, I felt an abnormal warmth and exclaimed,
He's burning up!
Feeling my touch, Michael faintly said,
Grandma's hand feels nice.
But then he lost consciousness.
Michael! Stay with me!
I pulled out a thermometer I always carry in my bag, placed it under Michael's arm, and it read 103.8 degrees Fahrenheit. I hurriedly sent a message to Allison on WhatsApp, but no matter how long I waited, there was no reply. It didn't even show as read.
What are you doing at a time like this?
Anger towards Allison welled up in me, but realizing I needed to prioritize saving Michael's life over venting my emotions, I called 911. In the shopping bag Michael clung to and wouldn't let go of, there were loads of snack foods and fruits like apples, pears, and bananas stuffed inside, but at that moment, I didn't have the leeway to question it. Before long, the high-pitched sirens of emergency vehicles could be heard, along with announcements instructing the line of cars to make way.
Over here! Please hurry!
Unable to stand still, I ran out into the pouring rain to signal the ambulance driver. Upon arriving at the hospital, everything was ready for Michael's reception, and he was immediately examined by the attending physician.
It's a cold. There are also symptoms of pneumonia, but fortunately, it's mild and not life-threatening. A round of 4 fluids followed by oral medication should suffice.
Thank you. I thanked the doctor, relieved, but the doctor's expression remained somber.
Doctor, is there something else? The cold didn't come from being out in the rain. He's likely had it for a while. The swelling of the tonsils and the rash under his nose don't happen in just an hour. He probably caught the cold yesterday or the day before. And to think he was out in the rain without an umbrella. Poor thing. See how red and chapped his nose is? That's from repeatedly wiping his nose. The pneumonia was mild, but had the treatment been delayed a bit more, it could have been life-threatening.
The doctor looked at me quizzically, but I, knowing nothing of the circumstances, didn't know how to respond.
Grandma.
Michael regained consciousness and called me with a faint voice. Holding Michael's hand, I whispered softly in his ear.
What is it? Is there something you want to say? That person is really close with the delivery guy. When Dad is not at home, that guy always comes over, and they hug each other. I've seen it many times. That person? Are you talking about Allison?
Hearing Michael try his best to tell me what he had seen, despite his instability, made my heart feel like it was being crushed. This meant that Allison was having an affair.
I've been sick with a cold since the day before yesterday. And yet, today, that guy came over again, and she told me to leave immediately. But I refused because it was raining outside. Then, that guy packed the shopping bag with all sorts of things, saying, "You're in the way, go play deliverman or something," and kicked me out. The shopping bag, the one you were holding, filled with snacks and fruits? It must have been heavy. He made you carry that, the deliverman?
Michael nodded firmly.
That guy told me to bring it to Grandma's, laughing.
Hearing this, the doctor and I exchanged glances.
This is no small matter. As a doctor, I cannot overlook what has happened here. I can't forgive her either. We must do something about that woman.
The anger and sadness bubbling up inside me felt like it was about to explode. By the time I got home, the rain had completely stopped, and the sunlight was dazzlingly illuminating the moist asphalt.
Trinity, I'm so sorry this has happened. I promise to protect your precious Michael.
I spoke to a photo of Trinity, smiling happily while holding newborn Michael. Despite Michael's suffering, I had failed to notice it. Not only was I angry at Allison and her lover, but I also deeply felt my own inadequacy. When Yahir said he wanted to remarry, I was genuinely happy, thinking my son could finally move past his sorrow. Angry at myself for that moment, I repeatedly hit my thigh with my fist to try and release some of the pent-up emotions, knowing it was nothing compared to the pain Michael had experienced. The doorbell rang, and thinking it was a visitor, I hastily wiped my tears, forced a smile in front of the mirror, and said, "Yes," as I went to greet the guest. There stood Allison, smiling, yet unaware of everything.
"I'm sorry, Kristen, for troubling you to look after Michael."
Pretending to be a conscientious mom, Allison said as she headed deeper into the house.
"Michael, Mom's here to pick you up." Come out!
Thinking Michael was playing somewhere inside, she called out loudly. What? Michael hasn't been here today. Are you saying he's not at home? Then where could he have gone? As I feigned ignorance about Michael's whereabouts, Allison's face turned pale.
What do you mean he's not there? Michael definitely said he was going to Grandma's house.
He exclaimed, eager to leave. He really said that? That can't be. It's been raining all morning, and the wind was so strong. Even adults would hesitate to go outside.
But he was definitely going to deliver snacks and fruits to Grandma. He must have been pretending to be a deliverman. Did he really say that? It was pouring so hard outside that an umbrella wouldn't stand a chance. And you let a 6-year-old child run outside and didn't even try to stop him or look for him?
I didn't stop him because I leave things to the children. I believe in respecting a child's independence. It's part of my educational philosophy. Allison's attitude, as if the whole situation was Michael's fault, made my anger reach its peak.
Michael is currently hospitalized. He caught a cold, got soaked in the rain without an umbrella, developed pneumonia, and the doctors said if the treatment had been delayed any further, it could have been life-threatening. What did you say?
Allison screamed in shock and glared at me filled with anger.
Are you saying you lied to me? Why would you lie like that? Do you find it amusing to see me panic? Isn't it shameful to behave like that as a human being? What you think of me doesn't matter. What's important now is Michael. He's had enough suffering and hardship. If you wanted to be a mom, you should start by putting your child first before yourself.
Allison bared her teeth, about to retort, but realizing the gravity of the situation, she asked,
Which hospital is it?
As if it was an afterthought. As if it was an afterthought. I told Allison,
I'll turn the car around, just wait, but...
Allison, with a fearful expression, refused, saying,
No thank you, I can't trust you.
And called a taxi using her mobile phone app. She might have been trying to secretly communicate with her affair partner or coordinating their stories in case the harassment towards Michael came to light. I returned to the hospital to wait, and about 10 minutes later, Allison arrived.
Where is Michael's room?
She randomly asked hospital staff she passed by, pretending to be a concerned mother, but when she reached Michael's room, a nurse stopped her.
No visitors allowed. You cannot enter. Michael. Mom's here, you can relax now.
Allison smiled gently like a saint, but then 2 people in suits approached her, showing their police badges.
Are you Allison Keller? We need to speak with you. Please come with us to the station. What? Why do I have to be taken by the police? I'm his mother. Let me see Michael. What have I supposedly done?
Allison resisted until the end, but the police officers remained calm and forcibly took her away without letting her argue further. The doctor who examined Michael advised involving the police, deciding that Michael's testimony couldn't be ignored.
I have a grandchild about Michael's age. If my grandchild had been treated like this, I might not be satisfied with just taking it to the police.
The doctor joked, laughing heartily. It was already dark outside, but I saw a missed call from Yahir on my mobile phone, who was supposed to be away on a business trip. When I called back, Yahir said, I had a meeting in the next city, and was surprised to find no one home upon returning earlier than expected. When I candidly shared the day's events with Yahir, he initially couldn't believe it, saying, No way, not him. But as we continued, his tone grew more serious, and he promised, All right, I understand. I'll look around the house to see if there's anything left behind. About an hour later, Yahir called back.
Evidence of the affair keeps coming out. They took photos and videos together looking cozy while I was away. There's even evidence they used our bedroom together.
Yahir expressed his betrayal and harassment toward his son, left by his late wife, with anger as if venting his hatred. Subsequently, Allison was arrested for child abandonment, and her affair partner, Keith Hughes, was also arrested as an accomplice and charged. To be honest, I still wish I could believe that Allison hadn't done such terrible things to Michael. I wish all of Michael's suffering were just lies. It may sound strange before the trial, but I want to run away. Facing the truth is too painful. But confronting that truth head-on is the only thing we can do for Michael now. Reliving his suffering through the trial is all we can offer. I reminded myself that exposing the crimes committed by Allison and Keith in court was our duty, despite feeling powerless. As the trial began, Allison, seated in the defendant's dock, kept her head down, making me think she regretted her actions. However, when she looked up and our eyes met, she twisted her face and stuck out her tongue, showing no concern for the onlookers. The reporters, unable to hide their shock at Allison's lack of remorse, exclaimed,
"What a terrible person!"
Voices from around the courtroom accused,
"Does she even understand her position?"
The judge had to call for order with a stern silence. Allison, unfazed, smirked as she took the stand, detailing the events leading up to the incident since her marriage to Yahir with a detachment akin to giving a business report. Allison admitted to approaching Yahir, seeing his career success and vulnerability after losing his wife, thinking,
"He wasn't my type, but he seemed wealthy and likely to become more successful, so I thought, why not secure my future with him?"
She didn't seem to think anything was wrong, and said so in a calm tone. She revealed her ongoing affair with Keith, predating her relationship with Yahir, describing him as her ideal type.
"He looks like an idol, so cool and exactly my type,"
she said, justifying her continuous affair with Keith despite Yahir's frequent business trips, thinking it would never be discovered. Yahir, often away from home due to work, underestimated the situation, thinking it wouldn't be discovered, and thus continued the relationship carelessly. Moreover, Allison confessed that she had always found Michael to be an annoyance ever since they first met. Allison mentioned that the casual expressions Michael sometimes showed bore a striking resemblance to those of the late Trinity in photos. Seeing this likeness sparked an intense feeling of hatred within her. Allison, while secretly meeting with Keith, also treated Michael harshly, laughing at his cries and ensuring he couldn't enter the house while they were together. Moreover, Allison and Keith were recording the situation on their mobile phones, laughing all the while.
I threatened him with a scary face, saying don't tell anyone, and surprisingly, he listened. It made things quite enjoyable for me. But when I became pregnant with Keith's child, I panicked. If the affair was discovered, I'd lose everything. So, I devised a plan to pass the child off as Yahir's, ensuring my financial security.
As Allison finished explaining her motives for harassing Michael, her selfish claims left everyone speechless, and the courtroom fell into a stunned silence. Allison's defense attorney, beads of sweat on his forehead, hurriedly attempted to mitigate the defendant's crimes, but Allison's demeanor, yawning and appearing bored with a "Isn't this over yet?" attitude, completely undermined his efforts. Moreover, when Allison took the stand again, she declared,
"It wasn't just Michael. Kristen, too, would come over every time something happened, and it was unbearably annoying. I wanted to spend every possible moment with Keith, but they were just in the way."
By so candidly expressing her feelings, she significantly worsened the judge's impression of her. As a result, Allison could not escape a prison sentence, and the trial concluded with a verdict even harsher than what the prosecution had sought, exceeding their demands. Needless to say, Yahir and Allison officially divorced, and with Allison required to pay a substantial amount in settlement, her descent into poverty was sealed.
Michael, I'm sorry. I was wrong to immerse myself in work and leave you with Allison. Marrying such a terrible woman was my mistake.
It's okay. I love you, Dad. But I have one request.
What's up?
Just tell me anything. If there's something you want, Dad will buy it for you, anything. Not things. I want to be with you. Yahir closed his eyes tightly, and then, with a burst of affection, exclaimed, "Michael!" as he embraced his beloved son tightly. Later on, Yahir submitted a request to be transferred from his sales position, which required frequent business trips, to a general affairs role with fewer trips and regular hours, allowing him to return home on time. Although his colleagues were surprised, no one objected due to the circumstances surrounding the recent incident. Years later, Allison and Keith, now released from prison, tried to blame their hardships on our family.
Because of your family, he and I are struggling. Being branded as a criminal, we can't rent a place to live, nor can we find jobs. How do you plan to take responsibility?
Faced with Allison's utterly misplaced protest, I immediately called the police and had them take her away. We promptly involved the police and eventually moved to a secure luxury apartment. When I entered the restaurant where I work, bringing Yahir and Michael with me after a long while, the manager's wife greeted us with a smile, saying, "Michael? Haven't you grown taller since the last time I saw you?" As is my habit, I stood up and asked, "Can I help with anything?" At that moment, the manager appeared.
No need. Kristen, you're a guest today, right? Plus, it's on me today. Since Michael is here too, eat whatever you like. I love the pork cutlet meal here. But even more than that, I love Dad and Grandma way more.
Seeing my grandson's restored smile, I vowed never to let anyone take it away again.